Okay, so listen, let's talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. All right, that's been a target of yours lately on X. There was a repost of Ben Shapiro that you claim that DEI is killing people. Specifically, you point to medicine. You claim that DEI programs are putting people at risk. Do you really believe this to be true? And what evidence do you have to support it?
What I was referring to there was that if we lower the standards for doctors, such so that they, if the test for a doctor is lowered, then the probability of them making a mistake and killing someone is obviously going to be higher.
Wait, say that again. I'm not sure I understand what you said. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
Yes, if the standards for passing medical exams and becoming a doctor, or especially something like a surgeon, if the standards are lowered, then the probability that the surgeon will make a mistake is higher. They're making mistakes in their exam. They may make mistakes with people, and that may result in people dying.
What evidence do you have, though, that they're lowering the standards? There's no evidence of that.
I believe there is.
There's no evidence of that, Elon. What is the evidence?
I believe they have literally lowered the standards at Duke University, and that is what the article was referring to.
There's no evidence.
Saying they have not lowered the standards?
There's no evidence about lowering standards, and I think that there is.
Leave that as a false statement you're making.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I think
the interesting thing is, when this is posted on the X platform, there will be a whole bunch of things that rebut what you said and what I said.
Correct.
And so people can then make their own decision based on the replies and the rebuttals and the community notes.
I think that's fair. But I do think that on this particular topic, I do think that you and Ben Shapiro are reaching in about this, because there was what Ben posted said that he gave instances of people who were deliberately harming people. Nowhere in the thread does Ben suggest at all, I should say, that anyone is being killed as a result of DEI. That's purely speculative. There's research on DEI and medicine, and there's no evidence that standards are being lowered, that DEI is affecting medicine. Actually, only 5% of doctors are black, and a small percent.
Yeah, I think you'll find that when this is posted to the X platform, that people will reply to it with evidence.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see.
Okay. So, but that's my whole thing about moderation. Maybe you're wrong, but you'll put it out there. You don't know if it's right. Do you think that you have a responsibility to make sure something is right before you, the person who owns it, Elon Musk, who's a huge figure in the world, that you should know that it's true, that there are people at X who can get research for you before you put something out there like that? That's not necessarily true, even in other examples.
If I say something that is inaccurate, I'm immediately corrected on the platform. That's the advantage of a real-time system like X. So there will be immediately in the replies people correcting me. There will be a community note that will correct me, which is attached to the actual post itself.
Do you think as many people read
Yes.
You think as many people read that as it reads your tweet?
Yes, in fact, and if there's a community note that happens later where somebody didn't see, but they replied to that or interacted with that post, we will notify them that there is now a community note correcting that post.
Mm-hmm. Just so you.
Whereas if you consider the conventional media, that doesn't happen. Conventional media makes false statements all the time and nobody ever hears the correction.
When I was in conventional media, I can only speak for myself. If I got something wrong, if someone got something wrong on the platform that I was on, it was corrected, and we made sure that it was corrected. Now, I can't speak for anyone else.
I don't think that's a universal situation.
Okay. So I just the research, so when you talk, do you believe that people are dying because medical standards, DEI is causing medical standards to be lowered? Do you actually believe people are dying because of that?
I believe that if we lower the standards for what it takes to become a doctor.
You're saying if we lower the standards, yes. But do you believe people are dying because the standards are being lowered?
I don't think that is yet an issue, but it could become an issue.
Okay. But the actual evidence in history shows the exact opposite. If you look at how minorities were treated by the medical system, most doctors now are white. And there are lots of mistakes in medicine. So you're saying that white doctors have bad medical care? I'm trying to understand your logic here when it comes to DEI, because there's no actual evidence of what you're saying.
No, I said, so if the standards, like let's say, I think that particular thing was referring to surgeons. let's say a surgeon is asked to, a surgeon in training is asked to do a series of operations under the supervision of a senior surgeon, and they get a bunch of those operations wrong. If that happens, and yet they are still approved to be a surgeon, the probability that someone will die, I think, at some point is high.
Okay, I understand that, but that's a hypothetical. That doesn't mean it's happening.
I didn't say it's happening.
You didn't say it was happening.
I said it will.
But
I said if we lower standards, people will die.
But why respond to something or put something out there that has not happened? Because I could say,
Because I don't want it to happen. I think we don't want to lower standards.
Okay, if you look at the history of the medical industry, especially when it comes to Black Americans, it shows the exact opposite. If you look at the Tuskegee experiment and on, only 5% of doctors in America are Black. All of them are white. So are you saying that if the majority of doctors are white, are you saying that and there are still these inequities, right? And there's still mistakes. Are you blaming DEI for that?
No, I'm very basically saying that if we lower standards for what it takes to become a board-certified surgeon or, an oncologist or something where the kind of disease we're talking about, if you make a mistake, causes someone to die, then more people will die than if we don't lower the standards. Therefore, we should not lower the standards.
But why do you think they're lowering the standards for minority doctors or women doctors or?
That's what that's what that article suggested. Yes, at Duke University.
Okay. The evidence that I have shows that that's not true.
Okay.
So listen, after the door blew off this mid-flight, this Alaskan Airlines flight, do you remember that? You responded to a post claiming that the average HBCU grad was less intelligent than the average airline pilot, and stated that it will take an airplane crashing and killing hundreds of people for them to change this crazy policy of DIE. I don't know if did you misspell it on purpose, which it should be DEI. Do you believe that women and minority pilots are inherently less intelligent and less skilled than white male pilots?
No, I'm just saying that we should not lower the standards for them.
Okay. But there's no evidence that standards are being lowered when it comes to the airline industry.
You've repeatedly said that there's no evidence that standards are being lowered, and watch the replies showing all the evidence that it is.
Replies, though, on social media or on Twitter are not necessarily fact and evidence.
No,
that's people's
they
opinion.
will cite
all
the reply. In the replies to this, you will see how often the information is cited, showing that indeed there are significant cases where standards are lowered.
And I do hope that happens. I do hope that happens, and I look forward to it. And as you said, if you're wrong, then you're wrong, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm glad we're having this conversation, debating. This is what we should be doing, debating the issue. So
right.
If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, and then they'll be proven in the thing, and you as well. But I just want to tell you that pilot that you talked about, in fact, was a woman pilot, landed the plane safely despite the major malfunction with the equipment. Boeing has taken responsibility for that incident, saying that it was caused by a faulty door panel. So I'm not sure what that had to do with lowering the standards for pilots when it was a faulty.
No, it's not lowering standards for pilots. It's the incentive structure. I believe at Boeing changed to include DEI as a fundamental executive incentive. But in my view, it should be purely about passenger safety.
Okay, but do you understand how by saying just that standards are being lowered, that you're implying that they're being lowered because people are less skilled and less intelligent, and you're talking about people of color and or women?
Look, I'm saying we should not lower standards.
But you don't?
That's it.
I think everyone can agree that you shouldn't lower standards.
Great.
But you're implying that they're lowering standards because of people of color or women, because someone is not a white male. You're saying that they're less skilled and less intelligent. That's what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying that they are.
Then why would they be lowering the standards?
I don't know. Why are they lowering the standards?
Just so you know, 5% of pilots are female, 4% are Black. So you're talking about this widespread takeover of minorities and women when that's not actually true.
I'm not saying there's a widespread takeover.
Well, you're saying that the standards are being lowered because of certain people. And you don't believe in DEI, right? Do you not believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I think we should be treat people according to their skills and their integrity, and that's it.
Do you know that studies show?
Studies show.
Yeah, well, we can look them up. So your reaction to studies show, and I understand, right? Because I always like to point to an exact study, right?
Sure.
Something that is factual. It's the same thing when you talk about, well, let's see what the replies are on Twitter or on X.
Yeah, so
I feel the same. I feel the same way about that. But this is what studies have shown, and people will reply and they'll say that companies with more diversity in their leadership teams have reported higher innovation rates than those with lower diversity or low diversity, and they're better companies and they make more money. This whole idea about DEI, if you go woke or whatever, you go broke, that's not necessarily true. People with diverse leadership teams and diverse workers make more money and more innovative.
Like I said, my view is that the only basis for promoting somebody should be their skills, talents, and their integrity, and that's it.
I want to ask you about, there's a federal government, EEOC, they are also currently involved in a lawsuit against Tesla that alleges that there's a history of widespread racial harassment against black Tesla employees, as well as a pattern of retaliation for speaking out. What do you say to that?
I don't believe that is true. I think we've got a very good, like if you walk around the Tesla Fremont plant, I think it's a very good atmosphere. In fact, I practically lived there for 3 years trying to make the production work.
Were you aware, if you lived there, were you aware of such behavior?
I never saw it.
So you're saying that this is not true, it's not happening?
Well, I mean, there's over 20,000 people. So you say, like, if there's over 20,000 people in one building, well, is everyone going to behave perfectly? No. Did I see any situations that I thought were improper? I did not.